Turns out I have quite a few peripherals and well, some people have been asking for some different opinions on stuff like the Razer green switches versus Cherry MX, different mice and that sort of stuff, so I thought this would probably be the best time to do a bit of a comparison. So before we get into anything, I just want to make clear that this both will contain my opinions, so if you don't agree with any of these, then feel free to let me know in the comments down below, but also that this is not a hard and fast rule of you must buy an old Razer keyboard because that's the only thing you should buy. It's very much just here's what this is kind of designed to do, here's what this is kind of designed to do, and give you an idea of what's kind of out there, what's in between, and what features you might want to look for when you're buying, say, a keyboard or a mouse or a headset. So without further ado, let's start off with the keyboards. So when talking about buying a keyboard, especially for gaming purposes, there's the main thing that you're going to be talking about is the key switch type. Now that's the kind of main sort of subsection of how to pick your keyboard. But basically these ones, so the SteelSeries Apex and the Logitech G15, which people like Linus will argue is still one of the best keyboards out there, as I'm sure you can ask him. Basically these are rubber membrane or rubber dome / membrane keyboards. So they have pieces of rubber that you have to push down to actuate the switch, and they have to be pushed all the way down to the bottom, give or take a little bit, whereas the mechanical keyboard switches generally have an actual spring inside each key and a plunger that goes down and either interrupts or makes a piece of metal move to create a circuit, whereas these are generally braking circuits on a circuit board type thing. But nonetheless, there is very much a different feel to it. So rubber membrane are a little bit more squishy, and sort of you have a lot of force at the top to start moving them, and then once they've sort of caved in, it's very easy to fall down, whereas mechanical key switches have a very linear force across the entire sort of range because there's actually a spring normally in there. Now Cherry is the company who makes the vast majority of mechanical keyboard switches. There are other companies like Razer who do the Black Widow Chroma X and a few other keyboards who make their own switches because Cherry's patent ran out, but Cherry MX is still probably the most popular right now in terms of brand of mechanical keyboard switches, and the different colors mean they have sort of different features. So Cherry MX Blues are ridiculously loud and clicky and have a very tactile feedback on where the actuation point is, so it's sort of about halfway down, so you don't have to push the key the entire way down if you really want to kind of mash it and hit a key lots of times, whereas the reds and browns don't have that tactile feedback. They just have slightly different weighting to each other, so it takes a little bit less effort, and then you also have the greens, which are just slightly more precise and stuff like that. But generally speaking, you'll find blues, browns and reds are the most common. There are a few others that you can check out yourself, but that's kind of the main guide. Personally, I prefer Cherry MX browns and blues. I'm actually using the Masterkeys Pro L right now, and my Black Widow Ultimate 13 was my staple since 2013, so it's been quite a long time. But yeah, I personally can't really go back to a membrane keyboard in terms of gaming. The experience for me is a lot better, but they generally tend to be a little bit higher end, which is what we're going to move on to. Now, in terms of added features, stuff like RGB lighting, stuff like macro keys, all that sort of jazz. Generally speaking, mechanical keyboards are positioned at the higher end, so have those features more often. Even stuff like the Corsair Strafe, which doesn't have RGB lighting on it, still does have individual key lighting, so you can turn on and off each and every key so that you can do waves and different effects and stuff like that if you were really that interested. You also have different software experiences, so for example, the Masterkeys Pro doesn't have any software. All of the effects, all of the macros, all of the layers are all done via the hardware buttons on the keyboard, whereas the Strafe and the Razer keyboards and stuff like that are all done in software, so that you can still do little bits on the keyboard, but generally speaking you set up all your macros and stuff like that on software side, which is a little bit easier, but does mean you have to download software, which can be an issue. Same with the SteelSeries Apex, but for example this one, while it does have RGB lighting, it's in very specific zones, so the main keyboard, the number pads, the numbers at the top, and the macro keys on the side. So it was a little bit of a different experience as well. Some of the other added features include stuff like USB ports and USB hubs. So for example, the Razer Black Widow Ultimate 2013 has a single USB 2 port on the side as well as audio pass-through, which is actually really nice. I never used the audio pass-through, but the USB port was still quite cool, but some people don't necessarily care about that. So stuff like the Master Keys Pro, which has a completely removable USB cable, is also another nice feature which you don't often get on membrane keyboards. So that is something to consider as well. Obviously this is very much personal preference. For me, I love Cheremex browns, blues and Logitech Roamer G switches, but I find that unlike switching to a better mouse which largely improves my accuracy, changing keyboard doesn't necessarily improve my gaming experience as much, obviously that differs per game. There are obviously massive differences between key switches with shorter travel distances, clicky tactile feedback, actuation point and such, but for me other factors like how comfortable your hand is on the keyboard, like the Black Widow Chroma X, is kinda a little bit more important. Obviously the typing experience is a whole different ballgame where mechanical key switches for me really come into their own. Now obviously you can very much pick between your own sort of what you like here, but for me personally, as said, Cheremex browns, blues and Logitech Roamer G switches are probably my top 3 in that order, and I very much recommend. I've obviously done quite a few reviews of them, so if you want to check them out, feel free to. Obviously the added features also do make a difference, for example the Logitech G910 with the phone add-on, which is quite cool. So I guess that's kind of it. I hope you found the video useful. If you did, feel free to subscribe. Especially since this is actually just the keyboard video, we're also going to be doing a mouse and a audio/other peripherals video very shortly. And check out some of the other videos. I have some more sort of informative, sort of roundup comparison type videos out at the moment anyway, so feel free to check those out and feel free to like if you liked it. If you, if I said anything wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments down below and I'll try and add an annotation if there is specifically anything wrong with it, anything I've said, which there likely will be. And yeah, other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to pick up any of these products, I don't know that I'll specifically leave a link to each and every one of them, but I will leave a link to, for example, the rough search for Amazon, stuff like that. But if you want to pick any of these up, if you could use my Amazon affiliate link, it genuinely helps me keep, having these products come in and being able to film them and put them on YouTube for you to enjoy for lovely £0. So yeah, if you could do that, that'd be awesome. Otherwise, as said, subscribe if you want to help me out, and feel free to share the video if you think it's going to be useful for anyone, especially if they're planning on picking up any keyboards, mice, headsets, mouse mats, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, we'll see you on the next video.